3 disturbing true trucker horror stories. Welcome to Whispers After Midnight. Tonight, we're diving deep into long, dark highways where truckers spend endless hours battling exhaustion, loneliness, and sometimes something far worse. The stories you're about to hear come from real truckers who swore they'd never forget the terrifying nights they faced on the road. So, buckle up, check your mirrors, and make sure your doors are locked, because here are 3 disturbing true trucker horror stories. The Woman in White. It was around 2 a.m. when a trucker named James was driving through a lonely stretch of highway in New Mexico. He'd been on the road for nearly 14 hours straight, the desert stretching out endlessly around him. His eyelids were heavy, and his only company was the static on his CB radio. Suddenly, his headlights caught something up ahead. A figure, a woman, standing on the side of the highway, waving her arms frantically. She wore a long, white dress that seemed out of place in the middle of nowhere. James slowed down, uneasy but unable to just pass her by. When he rolled down his window, she pleaded with him, her voice shaky and desperate, saying her car had broken down and she needed a ride to the next town. Against his better judgment, James unlocked the passenger door. The woman climbed in, her dress torn, her face pale. She smelled faintly of roses, though she never once looked directly at him. They drove in silence for nearly 20 miles. James tried to make small talk, but she didn't respond, only staring out the window. And then, without warning, she was gone. The seat beside him was empty. No door had opened, no sound, nothing. When James finally pulled into a diner at the next exit, shaken to his core, he asked the waitress if she had ever heard of a woman in white along the highway. Her face went pale. She told him that years ago, a young bride had died in a car crash on that very road, trying to reach her wedding. Some truckers say she still appears at night, searching for a ride she'll never finish. The rest stopped Stalker. A trucker named Daniel recalled a night when he pulled into a small rest stop in Oklahoma. The lot was nearly empty except for one old pickup parked under a flickering light. He stepped out, stretched, and headed to the restroom. Inside, he noticed something unsettling. A pair of boots visible under one of the stalls. The strange part? They hadn't moved the entire time he was there. He brushed it off, washed his hands, and walked back to his truck. But when he climbed into the cab and checked his mirrors, his blood ran cold. A figure was crouched behind his trailer, barely visible in the shadows. Daniel immediately locked his doors and flicked on his high beams. The figure, a man in a dark hoodie, stood up slowly, realizing he'd been caught. Instead of running, he just smiled and stepped back into the darkness. Daniel didn't wait. He fired up his engine and pulled away as fast as possible. Later that week, he saw a news report about a string of attacks at rural rest stops. Victims were always truckers, always ambushed when they were alone. The description of the suspect matched the man he'd seen. If Daniel had been just a few minutes slower, he might not have lived to tell his story. The Vanishing Hitchhiker. Our final story comes from a veteran trucker named Carl. He was driving late at night through West Virginia when he spotted a young man hitchhiking along a quiet stretch of road. The kid looked no older than 19, wearing a flannel shirt and carrying a backpack. Carl pulled over and offered him a ride. The hitchhiker climbed in, thanking him quietly. They talked for a bit. The kid said he was headed home after visiting friends, but something felt strange. His answers were vague, almost rehearsed, and every time Carl looked over, the kid seemed to be watching him a little too closely. After about 15 minutes, Carl glanced at the passenger seat again, and the boy was gone. No sound, no movement, just gone. The seat belt was still buckled. Disturbed, Carl drove on until he reached a gas station. When he told the clerk what had happened, the man froze. He explained that for decades, truckers had reported picking up a boy on that same stretch of road. A boy who never made it home. The hitchhiker had died in a crash there years earlier, trying to thumb a ride. Some believe he's doomed to repeat the journey forever. These are just a few of the countless eerie encounters truckers face on the lonely highways of America. Whether they were restless spirits, dangerous strangers, or something far beyond explanation, one thing's certain. The open road can be a terrifying place when the sun goes down. So the next time you're driving late at night and you see someone standing by the road, maybe think twice before stopping. You've been listening to Whispers After Midnight. If you enjoyed tonight's stories, make sure to like, subscribe, and join us again for more chilling tales that keep you awake long after the lights go out.